And then I heard Taylor, I'll let her tell her story, but her story and what she's doing with her life right now and what she's doing to help buyers comes from her own personal experience. It's ironic though, it didn't make her a real estate agent though. And she's not that crazy. It made me a real estate agent somehow, but I am really excited for you to share why you do what you do. We're going to get to what you do, but tell them who you are first. So everybody, let me introduce you to Taylor Casey with Kahmino. Go ahead, Taylor. Tell everybody who you are.
Thank you so much, Adam. That was a great intro. You have done it well. I like to say that I'm a recovering home buyer and still recovering. That's typically how I start, but that Adam's right. We both got into it from the same thing. I am located in Raleigh, North Carolina, originally from the Atlanta area, and was one of many relocating to the Triangle many years ago and had no idea where to start. I was a first-time home buyer, and probably every stereotypical thing you can think of when you think of first-time home buyers, that was me, with a very tight window to buy. And my background is in tech, through a roundabout path, but ended up in the tech space. And I remember going to look for my first home. I had 6 weeks when I was moving here between deciding if I was going to rent or buy. And I was 25 at the time, and the agent that I sat down with, we spent 30 minutes on Bed Bath and Budget, right? And we had that nailed. Well, I knew if I wanted a garage or no garage. I knew how many bedrooms and bathrooms I wanted, all of the things. And when we walked away from that call and he set up the listings for me to go look at, I kept falling in love with the houses and I'd end up in the neighborhoods. And again, 25 at the time, I was closer to the kids' age than the parents' age. And it did not fit what I wanted to do on the weekends and the lifestyle that I was looking for. And walking away from that experience and then continuously hearing that in such a high relocation area like Raleigh, where people would move in and they'd say, well, we don't know where we want to be for the right now, and so we're going to rent for a year to figure it out, and then we'll buy. And after hearing that enough times, and after going through the actual home buying process myself officially, I was encouraged not to become a real estate, but to solve the problem for real estate agents and for buyers. Realized very quickly going through the process of buying myself that all of this is falling on you guys as real estate agents. Real estate agent is the official title, but I feel like, tour guide falls in there, journalist or reporter falls in there, all of
Therapist.
the titles. Yeah, therapist falls in there. And so was very encouraged to solve that problem, only mostly for the buyer and for the agent, right? Who are trying to get to the same goal, which is helping people love where they live. So created what we call Kahmino now, after going through that process and doing a little sabbatical. And our entire goal is to help match home buyers with neighborhoods that they will love, but with these tools that are for agents, right? It's to facilitate the agent process so that you can focus on developing the relationship with the buyer and spending time on those value add activities instead of itinerary creation and tour guiding around the city. And that's how we landed here today. I've been doing it for coming up on 3 years and have learned a lot about what buyers are looking for. I've learned a lot about, how agents are leaning into these lifestyle preferences that these buyers have more and more. And Adam and I really connected on that. So I'm happy to be here today.
Yeah, I am. I think we have like 5 hours of stuff to probably talk about in only an hour. But the reason I brought this to Kim right after you and I spoke that I really wanted to get you on as early as possible because in all of our business, a lot of the time we spend is with brand new strangers, with people that we've never met before, people that we don't know who they are. We don't know their lifestyle. We don't know anything about them. And a lot of these people early on, like they should be, are cautious and protective of information that they should be protective of because they're meeting total strangers. And from our perspective as real estate agents, we believe we have to have a list of questions that we ask people. And if they answer the questions, then we must be hearing everything we need to hear. But we don't focus on the fact of the questions that they don't answer. And how do we get them to answer questions and really like open up about it? And so what I wrote down was questions and questionnaires don't solve the problem. And one thing that I do believe is part of the solution is in the end, slowing the process down for people that need to slow it down, because if they're focused on buying a house and the excitement of buying a home, they themselves are not going to slow down enough to figure out, am I finding the right place in the right place? Am I just finding a square box that might be the right square box? So when I'm hearing you talk and I want to get into this, it's really a really amazing thing to be able to find a way to get the buyer to slow down for their own benefit.
Mhm.
In my history, and Kim and I talked about this years ago, when I would set up buyer consultations, I would create a Google form. And that Google form had all the right questions. It was, tell me why you're moving and tell me about your life. But it was brought to them in a way that were the right questions, but not that they had value for. There was no value to them that they were going to get by answering those questions. And even if I had the right intentions, almost no one filled it out. And if they filled it out, it was one word answers. And so, what I love about what you offer, and we're going to talk about Kahmino, I want to talk about why you presented it and what that bridge is going to create. What she's created, guys, is a bridge that allows us to actually learn about our people before we meet them, but not a questionnaire where I can learn about people where they filled out a questionnaire like it's a doctor's form. Instead, they're filling out something that they're going to get information that is to benefit them. So, like,
Yeah.
tell me about how it's different. Tell me about what the difference is with your program. And Kim, I want you to interject questions and thoughts also. I know I'm like just taking over, but tell me about like the program itself and how it gets the answers and gets them to open up when they need to.
Yeah. And before I even get into the program, I'll emphasize what you said. One of the things that we found is, and you guys will know this as, agents and buyers agents especially, but the exchange of value is so important, right? And like Adam said, when it's a one-way exchange of value where the buyer feels like they're showing up and they're only giving and not receiving any value, that's what breaks the relationship and keeps them from opening up. And so our tool is in the form of what I call a BuzzFeed quiz, but it's hidden behind value that we're providing, which is we're going to match you with these personalized neighborhood recommendations. And we are, right? That's going to be the value that these buyers are getting from this tool. And that does two things, right? It's positioned for the agent. So it's in your branding and it's something that you're able to offer. So they then equate, oh, Adam is providing me value through this tool, but it's giving them the answers that they need and that they're seeking out. I have, stats on stats on stats, but, the premise is, people are focusing and prioritizing lifestyle moves over anything else. And that's, something that continues to trend up. Relocations are back to to pandemic numbers. And with that comes, different things that they want to prioritize. And right now, if you type in, where should I live in X neighborhood in almost any city, the first result that comes up is Reddit. And so now you have buyers who are, scrolling through Reddit, scrolling through these Facebook groups, trying to search for answers that are not personalized for them to find things that resonate with what they're looking for. What we have done is again turned that into an exchange of value that you as an agent can provide. And whether you're using our tool or not, I think that's the key here is how can you provide value to these buyers? And one of the biggest questions they're answering, or excuse me, that they're looking to get answered is where am I going to feel at home? What's going to feel like a match for my lifestyle, for my kids' lifestyle, etc. And so
I
what we've
love
done
this.
yeah, we've put together essentially a BuzzFeed quiz on the front end, but they're willing to take it because they know that they're going to get those neighborhood matches back. And what you are going to get, one, is your name out there and your way to differentiate yourselves from other agents in your area who do not have the answers that the buyers are looking for. But you're also going to get a cheat sheet on everything that these buyers care about, right? We find that because they're getting value from this, they're willing to share those things that maybe they wouldn't share with a stranger across the table or across a Zoom. They're going to tell you their political affiliation. They're going to tell you their fears or what was missing in a previous neighborhood. All of these different things that are going to help factor into you finding the right match. Because at the end of the day, you know the area better than anyone. All we're doing is providing value through this tool so that you can do it faster and easier. and connect with the buyers more, right? Adam and I spoke a lot about, like the time that you spend or invest in the relationship is the most important. Our goal is to give you a leg up, right? Provide value first and give you all of the data that's needed to tailor the conversation to each individual buyer's needs, worries, etc.
All right.
Um,
Here's what I want to do with this, right? Because we could talk about Kahmino and the actual product, but I want to get to why we need to find out more than this basic criteria about our clients, and what you didn't say, which I know the agents need to hear, is not just finding out the information at some point. Like Kim and I agree, the most frustrating thing about working with a client is that it takes them forever to actually open up to you. And so it's not just actually finding out the information, but we need to find out and get them to tell us in the first quick period of time. And by the way, we're going to have a guest who's sitting very patiently listening to real estate agents talk, because I have one of my past clients that's sitting in the waiting that we're going to bring into the picture when the time is right. Because I have a client, Rebecca, who bought a home with me a couple years ago, moved completely from Dallas, Texas, all the way to Pennsylvania, knowing absolutely zero people, knowing nothing about the fact of anybody here, no agents, no people, only that her husband's job was bringing her here. And one thing that I know about our relationship that made it better was that I could get to know them early on and not have, from myself and from her perspective, the ability for her to trust me before we got started. And so what I want to hit home with, regardless of what product actually, I don't even know if Kahmino's not even available for everybody. We're just getting started, hopefully getting you to get that out there. But the most important thing is everybody as agents right now needs to see how important it is early on to get these people to open up, that we can't just accept them only telling us bedrooms, bathrooms, and budget. Because if we only accept that and we accept that as the information and say, we'll figure it out later, then we're going to hate our lives and they're going to hate us. So Kim, tell me your thoughts on, like, one thing I want you to, I know your team is great at, is your clients come in telling you, and you get a lot of relo also. You get people that relocate because you have referrals from all over. So yeah, tell me what your thoughts on, because you haven't spoken at all. So let me throw this to you and see what your thoughts are.
Well, I think it's kind of like what we've always said is like you can be a real estate agent and you can be a door opener, or you can be a real estate agent and you can be a consultant and an advisor and not even care if they buy with you or sell with you, but you want to make sure they're making the right decisions for their family. So just like sometimes you say, this is not the right house for you. This is not the right neighborhood for you. And there's other people who just go, well, I don't care what house I'm showing them. I'm just going to let them in and hope they buy it because I want to collect a check. So I think that's just like everything she's doing is adding to what we always say, which is finding out like the client's true motivation and what's going to really matter to them in the house. And, not just how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, but is it walkable to the canal path, and that they bike and they hike and they're going to want those types of things that have nothing to do with the physical house, but you learn about them when you learn about them as people.
As early as possible. Like for me on the buying side, the consultation was and is and will always be my avenue to trying to get the information that she's getting through her program. Yeah. Because when you sit down in the right, properly prepared practice consultation, and this is in Adam's workshop right now, but I will say, if I'm telling everybody the focus has to be early on, truly getting to know the personality of the people, you can't do that in random vacant, empty homes. And you're not going to do that for people that are moving 20 minutes away, let alone people that are moving all the way across the country. The difficulty is, as agents, I think our personalities sometimes are okay with the buyer that isn't opening up to us. So instead of saying to ourselves, yeah, that's not enough, I actually can't just accept that they're telling me basic criteria. I have to insist that they open up more to me. They just go, okay, I got what I got and I'll figure it out later. And
I think a lot of times I notice too that, so I ask a lot of questions. Maybe I ask too many questions, but like, I just always want to know more. Like my coach will always even say like, you don't want to just ask one question. I can't speak today. I'm sorry. You don't want to ask one question. I don't know grammar anymore. You want to ask like three. So it's like, okay, tell me why, tell me whatever. And then it's okay, why is that important to you? Okay, because of this. Well, but why is that important to you? Like you have to keep asking questions. And I think a lot of agents just think, oh, it's not my place to clarify or ask. And, so my team will come to me and they'll be like, well, the client said they're not interested in that house I showed them. And but I don't really know why. And it's like, okay, well, did you ask them? Like, what's the missing piece? And it's like, well, no, I just, they said they're not interested, so I just need to leave it at that. But like, no, like,
Yeah.
it deeper than that. Like, what is it? What would have to change about this house to get, that's one of my favorite questions. Like, what would make this house the perfect house? What would we have to change? Because then it gets people thinking deeper, like, well, it really would be perfect if it had a basement, or it really would be perfect if it didn't back to these train tracks, versus just, no, we're not interested. Like that drives
And
me
we
crazy
accept
as
that.
a, well,
And
yeah.
we
And then
accept
as a
that as the
listing
answer.
agent, so like flipping it to the listing side, when I do get feedback that's just wasn't the right house for them. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. Why was it not the right house for them? And then that's when the buyer's agents are always like, oh, they didn't say, I don't really know. And I'm like, how are you having any kind of relationship with your clients if you don't know why it wasn't the right house for them?
All right. So here's what the cool thing is. I think as agents, we know we have to have questions, but I think the way we get those questions answered leaves it open for us to not actually find out what we need. Like, so they don't like it and move along. The one thing that I want to hear from Taylor is that you have a series of questions that you're asking people, but it's those questions are not yes and no. It's making them choose from a bunch of things so that they can actually for themselves in a positive way tell you what they want, and then let the technology say, okay, based on all these positives. So us as agents, we don't know the questions to ask. And when we ask them and we don't know if they answer them, we don't know how to translate it. And I think what I think she knows, what she's figured out is how do you ask people the questions in the way that they want to answer them, that gives them value because they're excited to answer those questions because they're excited to see what the results are. Like you're excited to see what the results give instead of the agent giving you a bunch of questions. So what are those questions? How did you determine, because we want to know the answers, but they don't answer. So
Yeah.
how does your program get them to answer the questions in a way where we learn what we need to learn?
Yeah, and I think it's twofold, Kim. I love what you said about asking a lot of questions. If you haven't, it sounds like you have, but if anyone else on the call hasn't heard about the 5 whys, it sounds repetitive, but you just keep asking why until you find the root cause. And that was some of the premise we took in the survey. Um, what we found is, like it's all about figuring out the right questions to ask, but on the buyer side, a lot of times they also don't know what they need to share or what they want to share. And a lot of times you figure that out by driving them around and showing them houses. And then all of a sudden it starts to spill out of them of like, oh, well, I forgot to tell you about XYZ. So back to Adam's point of collecting it
Yes.
early, that is our goal, is to ask them questions that are going to, put them in a mindset to share those things that they forget to share until, 3 or 4 home showings later.
So I'm going to
So
cut you off real quick. So like as an
yeah,
agent, I'm sitting here saying, so what do you love to do? And they're like, that's not they're not ready to answer it. They don't know the answer. So they sit there and they maybe don't answer because their personality doesn't say it. But when
yep.
they ahead of time go, which of these things do you love to do the most? Now you're getting answers.
Exactly. Yep. And they're allowed to do it on their own time. It's like, Adam, you asked me at the beginning, tell me something positive. I'm going to have a way better answer at the end because I've now heard everyone else answer. I'm able to come back and share something, right? And that's the same
Yeah.
premise with these buyers, is put them in a position where they can think through on their own time. So we ask things like, what do you like doing on the weekend? What's most important to you? We actually ask that at the very top of the survey and the very bottom. And again, tool aside, you can do that in your call or in your consultation, right? Start with what's most important to you, have a 30-minute conversation, and circle back around to, so let's summarize what's most important to you. And I guarantee you at least one more thing will be added to that list because they've had time to think through what is important to them, what do they need to factor in, all of those things. And that's what
You
our
know,
survey does as well.
you know what else it does? It opens the door to questions that they weren't thinking about, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps agents ask questions that they weren't thinking about or getting answered. And that's
Mm-hmm.
actually what we're here for, is like, how do we ask them in the right way so that they see the benefit of just telling us way more than bedrooms, bathrooms, and budget, right? How much they can afford. They actually know that they need to, because they're thinking, wait a second, you know what? I didn't tell you about this. Not on the fifth house or sixth house, what's important to you about, and you're sitting there going, how could you not have told me that? Like, how could you not have told me something that is so critically important to your lifestyle? And this will actually, whatever we do, this is why the consultation is important. This is why anything that you can do ahead of time before you start actually taking these people on the climb to buy a house, you're going to help yourself avoid, it's the win-win, right? We have to create a win-win scenario where our clients get the experience they deserve, and we don't have to be frustrated, and they're not frustrated by seeing wrong homes like you did. Like, I don't want to live in this house where there's kids in the buses. I actually am 25 years old and don't want families and kids everywhere. And how many houses did they take you to till you learn that? The end result here is your clients are going to end up in one of two things. If they're frustrated, they're going to end up in a house that they don't love because they moved from an area that they don't know and learn after they buy the house that they are in a house they don't love, or you're never going to help the people buy a house, or they're going to be sitting there and you're going to be forever working with people waiting for them to tell you what's important to them. So,
or option 3, they're going to fire you. And when they fire you and go to their next agent, the thing they're going to say to their next agent is, we didn't feel like he was showing us houses that actually worked for us.
That's right. And yes. And then they'll open up to that agent all their personal things that made that a horrible experience. That's exactly right. Here's what I want to do now. Man, I'm going to take a risk here. This is a big risk. I promised you, I set no stage for this person to join us. I didn't tell her what I needed from her much other than that we only had an hour. But in talking to you, Taylor, my 20 years of helping people buy homes, through and talking to you, it brought stories in my head. It brought people in my head. And a lot of what you do, and I don't think it's just for this, to be perfectly honest with you, it's a lot that has to do with people relocating. I think a huge portion of this is people relocating because they don't know the areas that they're moving. But I really believe what we do and what you're going to do and we're going to do together is for everybody, because everybody buyer deserves to know if the neighborhood they're moving or living does fit their lifestyle, or maybe they don't even know that there's one that's close by that might be better. So I think that's important. But in really the stories that I was really thinking about, I was thinking about the people that I've helped that I don't even know how they did it. Like, I don't even know. I haven't moved more than 45 minutes away from the house that I grew up in. I literally could drive 45 minutes to the house I grew up in, and I've never been more than that. And so I'm unnerved by the thought of moving across a country into an area that I don't know. And we've talked about it, and you and I talk about how important it is, but we talk about it as a real estate group over and over and over again every month. But I think it was time to bring somebody in who actually lived it as not a real estate agent, someone who experienced it. And I hope she had a great experience, but I want to hear all about her experience, because I want you guys to hear the nerves, the frustration, the worry, literally the thought of buying a home and the inspections are happening and I don't know how many miles away Dallas is. So let me introduce you. How many?
1,300.
She knows to a T. I want to introduce you all to Rebecca Shedrick, who is the better half of Bill and Rebecca Shedrick, the much better half, and because he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, so we're not going to talk about that. But I helped, and I'll let her tell her own personal story about how work together. But I got introduced to them because Bill was moving because of a job, and I did a Zoom consultation with them while they were in Dallas, Texas, and I had the honor of helping them make this move and getting to know their family and getting to know that their personality and their life was really critical to the lifestyle in so many different ways that I'll let her share how important it was for her. Sorry. And then after moving here, she went through one of the worst experiences you can have in a neighborhood in an area that she didn't know anybody. And so how critical it was for Rebecca to move here and feel happy and comfortable. So I'll let you do it because I'm going to start crying on Facebook Live. But Rebecca, why don't you introduce everybody and tell everybody your story?
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Rebecca, and yes, I've got Bill, who just said he's on his way home. We've got two kids back in Texas that are 24 and 22. Both have graduated from University of North Texas. And then we've got our almost 13-year-old here, too. So when we moved up here 4 years ago, it's like 4 years ago next week for me and David. He was 10, and my husband actually moved up here 10 months before my son and I did, because our middle son was a senior in high school and we didn't want to completely ruin his senior year. He was captain of the wrestling team and in band and all that kind of stuff. So we had to do that long distance search because we had never even thought about Pennsylvania before. I learned about Pennsylvania kind of in school at some point because of American history, and that was about it. I was born in New Jersey, but my mom bought me a bumper sticker years ago that said I wasn't born in Texas, but I got here as quick as I could. So 2 years old, I wound up down in Texas, and my husband was raised in Texas too. So yeah, us looking for a house up here, and the way the market was then, it still is now, where the house would go on the market on Friday, be shown on Saturday, and sell on Sunday. So we couldn't really collect a few houses and say, oh yeah, we want to look at these. I'll come up on a weekend and we'll drive around and look at these houses. It was me and Adam and Bill on a three-way Zoom, because Bill was in Bensalem, I was back in Texas, and Adam was up in Doylestown. So we're all sitting there trying to figure stuff out. And then Bill and Adam could go see houses together, but I couldn't fly up every weekend to go look at a house and, haul the 10-year-old along with me and stuff. So I got to see houses on FaceTime, and then just had to trust Bill and Adam that the houses were good, because we also were in that market where you couldn't get an inspection and you were still going to pay over asking price if you wanted to get a house that was nearly what you wanted. And we held on to our house in Texas just in case things didn't go well up here, and we had to head back to Texas.
Just sold it, actually. You guys just sold
and
it.
We finally just
we
sold
just sold it. We finally said
we have committed
burned the
to
ships.
staying in Pennsylvania, and we even have now bought a house in Hatboro that we're hanging on to for my mother-in-law to move out here probably sooner than we thought she was going to. So we're going to go help her pack stuff up next week, hopefully.
I want to take you through a part of the story just so everybody hears this, because the important part of this is both of them had no idea about the locations or neighborhoods or anything. And so the price range that they bought, they could have bought within, if it was just about Bill getting to work, there was a wealth of places if it was only about the distance to a job.
Yep.
And the unnervingness of talking to a total stranger, and even if Bill was in Bensalem, he was working. It wasn't like Bill was getting to know the area at all. And so talking to them as total strangers, I want to talk about how important it was that I got to know you guys. And I think one of the things that I really felt is that early on, because I got to know you, we could talk about the houses more than just, oh yeah, that house is going to fit because it has the right amount of space or the right bedrooms and bathrooms that you got. I remember distinctly how important it was, the community and the neighborhood that really was important to you, beyond just Bill getting his car, a place for his fancy car.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want you to talk about the unnervousness of getting to know the person that was helping you and how important it was that I got to know your lifestyle, because finding where you were going to live was more than just the square box.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So our family looks a little different than a lot. We were foster parents for a few years, and we adopted our youngest. So we are a primarily white family with a black youngest son. And then our oldest is a non-binary anarchist punk.
He's so sweet too. That's
Go ahead. They're a great person, but they keep you guessing, definitely. And coming from a very white, very conservative North Texas suburb, and having expectations as such. I had my little spreadsheet, and I told Adam about I'm a spreadsheet kind of person. They're color coordinated and everything. And my first column on my spreadsheet was percentage African American in the school district. And so, I had heard people say, oh, this is an excellent school district. And I'm like, yeah, did you know there's 1.6% Black kids in the school district? And I was like, I don't want my kid to be one of 5 Black kids in the whole school anymore. And I wanted a place where when our older kids came to visit, because we're family people, our family was going to be up here, we wanted somewhere we could feel safe and comfortable with our whole family walking down the street. Because we're going to go to stuff. We like to go to the events. We like to go to the festivals, and we like living not in the city, but close enough to the city to get to do all the stuff that's in Philadelphia, So yeah, Adam definitely had to get to know a lot of interesting things about our family, because we did have some very specific needs that were definitely important to us. And we figured out pretty quickly we needed sidewalks too. I couldn't believe how many neighborhoods up here don't have sidewalks, or you've got a sidewalk on one street and then the next street doesn't. And we had a 10-year-old boy with a bike and a scooter and potentially a skateboard. And we needed sidewalks, and something that I didn't really think of, I wouldn't have thought was important, because where we lived in Texas, everybody had sidewalks. So yeah,
the one thing I
didn't know what I didn't know.
One thing I want to throw out there with how it started with us, and by the way, this is literally a perfect example on, I want to tell you how immensely grateful I am that the consultation that I learned well before I met Rebecca and Bill gave me the ability to get to know them way beyond just those criteria. So I'm really grateful that I got to meet with them when I was ready to meet with them. The one thing that you guys should learn is Bill is not Rebecca. And they are totally the opposite. They are very, very, very different in their nature and who they are. And when we're helping our clients, we actually have to make sure everybody's happy with us before they're happy and trusting of us. And Rebecca it was great. We're like each other. We're great to connect, and we had no problem connecting. But I also needed to hear from Bill what was important to him, and what was, and make sure that his lifestyle was happening, because we're going to hit a brick wall if we find of important things. So I want to hit home, and I'm hoping, Rebecca, you feel this way, that the initial consultation did make that impact to make you feel comfortable, because we spent some time together, not just with me, by the way, it was with Jacqueline, who I give all the credit to as part of that, as part of the team. And you had to open up to me and Jacqueline when we were helping. So I just want you guys to hear how important that initial reaction or relationship is for somebody that moved all the way across the country. And then we still have great friends together, and I know her, and she knows me, and I know I feel comfortable that I can call her and say, I hope your lifestyle is actually good. I'm not unnerved by the fact that now I know her and she's living in a place that may not fit their lifestyle at all. In fact, I know it well enough to know that she's already built a structured foundation in her own community, taking over the Y, taking over going to community events, doing fundraising stuff for people. And so seeing all that is why we can build our business for clients where we can call them afterwards and not be afraid that they bought the wrong square box in the wrong place. And what I love about you, I'm going to bring it back to you, Taylor, is that what I think we need to make sure we do is get to these people earlier in the process so they can have fun doing it. And this is why I'm going to connect the two of you together, because I believe if I have a tool that I can say, hey, Rebecca and Bill, I'm going to meet with you guys in a week, but I really don't know you, and I want you to start thinking about the questions that you don't even know to ask. So I'm going to send you this amazing tool that's going to help me learn about you, and it's going to be kind of fun to fill out. It ain't going to be boring questionnaire, but it's really going to help us get to know you. I can only imagine, Rebecca, that would have made us even stronger in our relationship, right?
Yeah. It does sound like an amazing tool.
Oh.
Especially if I don't just send it to you and say, fill this out and get it back to me. Taylor, talk about what the questions that Kahmino do. I want to hear Rebecca's thought on how it would look like to her, and then the agents. I want to get your thoughts. Keep in mind, guys, she's just building this. She's now in how many states? Were you 5? Did you say 5?
Yep, we're in 5 states, 9 markets.
So 5 states and 9 markets. This is not something that I'm asking Taylor to join us so she can, we're actually going to help her and she's going to help us, because I believe if she gets to know your market and gets to know your area like she's doing with all these people, then this could be an offering tool that isn't something that she's selling to our clients. This is something that we're actually providing to our clients. So I'm sending to Rebecca and Bill, hey guys, here's everything with my information on it, my brand, and it's a tool that I own that I want to make sure that I give to you so that I can learn about you. So talk about the actual product and what they get when they buyer fills it out. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, and I will frame it around you, Rebecca. You are
Yes.
honestly like the perfect example because you are the spreadsheet person, right? You were the spreadsheet person and you still didn't know to ask the question about sidewalks, right? And imagine
Right.
people that are not the spreadsheet people, right? Like you put all of that effort in and you still didn't know you needed to ask about sidewalks or to express to Adam that sidewalks were important. So the way that it would work between you and Adam is exactly like he said, right? It's branded for him. It's a tool that he can provide. You are not local, right? And so he would say, hey, I'm going to send you this tool where we're going to figure out what's most important to you. And then it will give you neighborhoods when you do come up here or when your husband wants to tour around that you can go check out. And here are custom itineraries to go see what it would be like on the weekends. So we're going to walk you through the entire process. The first question, again, like I said, we start with is, what's most important to you in buying a home, right? Is it good school quality? Is it being close to emergency services? Is it being close to your favorite coffee shop?
Can I pause
Everything.
for 1 second? I want, because I've
Yeah.
seen this and they haven't seen it. So what everybody's going to do is eventually you can get a moment to speak to her about seeing it. But it's not just getting them to write it down. It gives them options and they can pick from a bunch of options. So it's not the buyer having to write anything. So keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that clarification. I'm happy to share it, Adam. I know we've only got an hour, so I can share it if we
Yeah, let's
want.
keep going. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, so it essentially guides them through it, right? It's the least amount of work possible. It's quick clicks. They don't have to type unless they want to. We always give them an option. And what we find is as people get further down the survey, they start typing because they're like, oh, I forgot about this, or I wanted to add this in. But we start with what's most important, and it's everything from amenities, coffee shops, farmers markets, my kid's school, to the less, quantitative things like I want to be somewhere that feels hipster. That's the vibe that I'm looking for. Or I want to be in an area that has historic charm. So we try to use this terminology that you find, people using to describe what they're looking for, right? It's not necessarily I want sidewalks, but it's, hey, what level of privacy are you looking for, right? Do you want something that has public access and street parking, or do you want something that has, more space and tree coverage and those sidewalks that Rebecca was looking for? So we guide them through that whole process. We ask them what they like to do on the weekends. We use that to populate these custom local itineraries they can use to go explore the area with or without you. That comes down to your process. And of course, we also do the knockouts, right? I always say that this is important. So we ask not only about work commute, but we ask about commute to friends and family. So Rebecca, you said your mother-in-law is moving up here. She would probably fill this out and say, hey, I want to be less than 15 or 30 minutes or however long from my family. So we take that into account. We take price point into account. We're not going to put someone who has a $500,000 budget into $1 million neighborhood or vice versa. And we ask them why they're relocating and where they're relocating from. So again, getting to that root cause of things they may not remember. But if you ask someone, hey, what was your last neighborhood missing? Right? That is the first thing that helps people start to say things that weren't top of mind, but they're like, you know what? It didn't have great sidewalks or it didn't have great access to a coffee shop. I want to be able to walk there every morning, whatever it may be.
I love that exists. So one thing that in teaching in the coaching group and talking in the coaching group to get people to answer questions is to not ask them future questions. So where do you want to live is a hard question to answer. But what did you hate about where you lived in the past? Man, everybody has an easy way to answer that. I love that you're talking about because that will get them to open up because they're having a history and a story that they can tell. And then you're hearing husband and wife talk about the stories in different ways. So I love that you hit past, not just what do you want from the place you have.
Another
keep going.
last one that I'll give a good tidbit again, like these aren't dependent on our tool, but we always try to ask, and then we'll use data to match them up, which I'll explain in a second. But we always ask, like, what is your favorite neighborhood you've ever lived in? And then ask the 5 whys, right? So, Rebecca, whatever your favorite neighborhood was, whether it was in Northern Texas or not, what was your favorite neighborhood and why?
No, it's Glenside. It's Glenside, Pennsylvania right now.
Yes. So she could describe that now, right? But that and asking and pairing it with the 5 whys, you will learn so much about your buyers that way, right? And without knowing it, they'll begin to open up. And those are follow-up questions, right? They may love it because they had, their kids had everyone their age to play with. And then you can get into, okay, so that's something that's important to you. So we ask all of those questions. Again, I highly encourage, those are great ways to figure out what's going on with your buyers. But what we layer on top of that is we pair that up with about 50 different data sources to match them with those neighborhoods. So we take all of that into account. We take our 50 data sources and then we give them and generate a report of these are your top 10 best neighborhood matches. And here's why. So for the spreadsheet people, it's going to walk them through, notable trends in the area. So anything that's going to increase investment value or enjoyment. It's going to walk them through the demographic.
Hold on. I'm going to pause you.
Okay.
All right. Because I want everybody to hear something before she did that. Okay. I want you to hear the order of how this actually works so that you understand what you're going to be able to do to connect with your clients better. So yes, this information is going to get to the consumer, and Rebecca, you're going to get it. I promise. I'm not going to keep it from you and Bill, but I want you guys to understand, as real estate agents, you are being given what could be the most amazing toolkit of ammo to use, or the amazing toolkit to use that's going to give you the information that you need to have. And I can only imagine, like, going into my consultations, I want to get all that information and try to learn about it. But if I had this amazing tool, or if I actually knew that I could have a tool at some point down the road to get this information faster and more open, because the critical part about this, guys, is not to just learn about where they want to live. It's actually to learn their personality and how they fill out this form. And everything that they provide in this form is going to tell you about not just the neighborhoods and the things. It's going to tell you about their personality before you even meet them in the consultation. And so what happens here is they fill it out. They have an opportunity to even fill out their own things and type in their own things. And think about the personality of the person that sits there and types in 5 pages of stuff, as opposed to the other personality of the person that doesn't answer anything. What ends up happening here, guys, is you get this information before the consumer. So I want to know, just like my CRM, I fill out my CRM with all the information I can learn about Rebecca before we meet. I want to know as much about her and Bill before we meet. And I know when we meet, I'm going to learn even more. I'm going to make sure I learn about it. But what if I could learn so much more about them by reading a 5-page description of, wow, these are the neighborhoods, or maybe it's not realistic, or it is, or she just filled this out. And I know Rebecca, sorry, but she would write 5 pages. And I would love to read the 5 pages. And I would know going into the consultation, this is the possibility of the personality that I'm meeting with. So I want you guys to see this in any way you do it. I don't care how you do it, but get the information as early as possible and do what you can to make yourself the greatest agent in the world at getting people to open up to you, but so that they see value in it. So you can talk about the report. I wanted to talk about what the agents get before the client gets it.
Yeah, and I think the principle there, again, tying it back to whether it's this tool or not, is exactly what you said, right? Like, do whatever you can to not go into that first buyer consultation cold, right? I'm sure you will learn a lot in that buyer consultation, but the more you can learn about them and how they interact, whether that's, just like their email correspondence with you or the first phone call you had, whatever it is, looking them up on LinkedIn, everything. Don't go in cold. And that's what our goal is to do, again, is to remove some of the admin and allow you to focus on the relationship. So like Adam said, for multiple reasons, the results go to you first. And I think that's a great principle in general when you're looking to provide value is don't provide value without there being an exchange. And the purpose of that exchange is to have that relationship and develop that relationship. So if it's a school guide, if it's a neighborhood guide, whatever that may be, figure out what the exchange is. It could be as simple as an email and a follow-up note. But that's our premise here too, is that's why we send it to the agents first, is to allow for them to facilitate that relationship with the client. So
it also protects us. It also protects us because we got to make sure that the information that's coming out is right on point to our market or our neighborhood. And so I think I want everybody to know this. You have to make sure you're reviewing it at all times, everything that we're doing, reviewing it. But most importantly, what we're doing is getting to know the people and think about what you can, how much information by having that information. I can only imagine how many questionnaires didn't get filled out from my customers that I struggled to find out, where they could have had fun filling it out and it spills a ton of stuff. And the other thing that I love that you said this is that you can show them the things that you didn't even think about that they would love. Like for Rebecca, here's the Y that's close by. Here's the this that's by. You're actually giving them the lifestyle for their whole trip in town. And it's all based on them, not something you thought of, like some idea that may not even match those people.
Yeah, one thing she just said that I feel like is so important was don't go in cold. And how you said, like, look at their LinkedIn profile. It's funny because oftentimes before I meet with a client, I do look them up on social media. Like, I just want to know a little bit about who is the person that I'm going to meet, you know? And it's a funny story. When I went last year to that Phil Jones conference in New York, and it was like a small group, it was like 12 of us, you know, for 2 days with Phil. And he had said the same thing at one point during the conference about, you know, it's okay to look people up, whatever. And then he took out a binder and he said, "Do you see this?" And he opened it and he had a sheet on each of us that they had taken from like our Facebook profile. And it was like, "Kim, you have 2 kids, you have a cat, you have a dog, you've been in business for this, you've been this, that, whatever, your husband's name is this." It was not information I had provided in advance. He was like, "I have a team of people that research you guys before I sit down with you, because if I'm going to sit in a room with you for 2 days, I don't know who I'm sitting with."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
And the good thing about this is this provides us, anything we do can provide us the information easier and faster. And so I want to make sure that Taylor, like, if anybody wants to just get in touch with you, I know that like you're actually building this out in areas. And I know that this is something that over time will get in front of people or someone will find out about it. But I want to make sure that people can find you so that if they want to connect with you about it and ask questions about how it works and actually be walked through it, man, I want them to be able to find you. So can you, Courtney will get the comments to link to, and she just put it in there. That's perfect. Everybody make sure you get that. It's pretty easy to find. And we're going to send you guys all the recording and the links to make sure you find her. But more importantly, guys, I want you to see the benefits from your perspective. This is about creating win-wins. Like, this is about creating a scenario where you don't have to fight through clients that aren't opening up to you and hating their experience buying a home. And now you hate the buyers and the working with the buyer. And then the buyer itself fights getting into a house that they may or may not even love. Like, we have to find an easier path to getting this information and getting people to open up. The reason why Sky knew we were going to connect is that I'm so, like, the consultation is that way for me to do it well before we start climbing Mount Everest. Like, but what you're providing are weather reports and exactly how they're going to climb and exactly how I'm going to help that person climb Mount Everest. Because I'll tell you right now, if me and Rebecca are climbing Mount Everest together, it's going to be different than if I'm only doing it with Bill. Like, I have to know how she's going to want to climb that mountain with me. I always knew that. I hope you guys who are listening know that knowing this information early is the most important thing. How you do it, you better find the technology. The cool thing is she's building something that I believe will be fun for the consumer to do, because we can have all the questionnaires in the world, but if they don't want to fill it out and they don't see benefit in it. By the way, Rebecca, I'm sorry. I didn't have this AI technology and I didn't have Taylor with me. I am so sorry that I didn't have her. And I feel like I'm grateful because I do think the consultation that we had together, I know it has, because we're good friends and you guys haven't disappeared from my life. And I know, but I'll say this again. She moved completely from Dallas, Texas. Now, you don't mind if I open up a little bit, Rebecca? Do you mind?
You know, I'm an open book.
I know you are. So this woman moved from Dallas, Texas, and I'm unnerved when those things happen, because I met Davey and I know the whole family. And I grew up actually not far from the house that she bought. And so the concept and idea of her moving wasn't as simple. And you guys know this, everybody knows, wasn't as simple as great. I helped them buy a house. They can disappear and I don't have to worry about it. I'm always worried about that. But more importantly, I don't even know how many months later, it had to have been within months. Rebecca was diagnosed with breast cancer and had only her husband and her son around. And it's amazing what she's done with that, because she's actually turned breast cancer into actually being a foundation of a community that she knew nobody in, that didn't know anybody. She didn't know anybody. No one knew her. And I can tell you right now, there's not a single person in that Y that doesn't know Rebecca. There's not a single person in her community that doesn't know her. And she's actually building a community. And I do want to share with this. I'm going to share with you guys in the group. She's building a group called Joy Maven, and it's about providing positive messages around the world and providing a positive message to her communities. And the fact that it's one of the proudest moments in my life that I've been able to help people, but help her move when it was such an important thing that her lifestyle was happy. And even if the house may not have been perfect, it's actually more perfect that the community was. So I'm sorry I didn't have this for you, but I want you guys all to see that it's not going to be easy to do this if you don't have the tools. And now that we have them, we better be using them. So Taylor, thank you for building this. I'm going to make sure everybody at least finds you to learn about it, and they'll miss out if they don't figure it out and learn about it. And as you grow, I want to see it happening, because as Buyer Agency Pro is growing to, we have 12 states. I want to see your 5 states turn into 50, and the coaching group will turn into 50, and we'll all be helping the Rebeccas and Bills have a better experience so we can get what we want, which is happy people in the lives. So
Yeah.
we are at 5 o'clock. Is there any, give me final parting shots. Kim, give me some final shots.
I think that was perfect. Rebecca, I'm glad to hear that you are loving being in Montgomery County and not missing.
And she's healthy now.
too much.
She's
And
still
then
fighting, but she's healthy.
Yes, most important part.
Taylor, what do you got? Give me some final shots. And we're going to find, people will be easy to find her. We're going to get you guys all the access to finding her, but give me something final from a non-real estate agent person that's making it better for real estate agents and consumers. Give me something.
Yeah, I'm very biased, but I would say from a non-real estate agent person who works with real estate agents all day, lean into tech. That is like my number one thing. Everything that Kim just said about being able to research your buyers, support your buyers, create unique experiences is easier than ever. So whether it is our tool or someone else's, AI is at your fingertips, and use it to your advantage, not to remove you from the process. That would be my overall takeaway. And if you ever want to chat about anything on that front, about how we're doing that with our tool or just in general, I'm very happy to do so. So I appreciate you guys having me.
It is a win-win. Well, what we're doing is win-win-win-wins. We're creating wins for everybody. Wins for you, wins for Rebecca, the client, wins for us. And so that's why we're doing this. So I really appreciate you doing it. Everybody share our group so we can have more people join this, more people join our Wednesday sessions. Let people know if you're enjoying it. Make sure you're coming back to us, because we got nothing to sell here. We're just trying to make it better for our clients. So Rebecca, thank you so much. I'll make sure everybody hears about Joy Maven and finds your group and finds Rebecca Shedrick. I'll make sure they get that message. Thank you for doing that, because you guys know she's just a client that has no benefit from being here. So thank you very much, my good friend. I love you very much.
My pleasure. Love you too.
All right, I'm going to let you guys all go at 5 o'clock. Thank you guys for being here. I'll see you guys soon.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.